A United States Navy fighter jet has been lost in the Red Sea amid a clash with Yemen's Houthi rebels. The incident occurred as the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier took sudden evasive action to avoid an incoming missile and drone attack. Amid the high-speed maneuver, an F/A-18 Super Hornet valued at around $60 million slid off the carrier's deck and plunged into the sea. No pilots were aboard. The jet was being repositioned on deck and only one sailor sustained minor injuries. Tonight, the Navy is investigating how a routine towing operation turned into a multi-million-dollar loss, even as fighting intensifies in the region. The Navy says the accident happened during a Houthi missile and drone strike threat in the Red Sea. As radar picked up incoming hostile projectiles, the USS Truman's captain ordered sharp evasive maneuvers. The massive carrier, more than 1,000 feet long, heeled into a rapid turn to avoid potential impact. On the hangar deck below, crew members were in the middle of towing a parked F divided by a -18E Super Hornet. The sudden jolt caused the team to lose control of the jet, and within moments both the fighter and the towing tractor rolled to the edge and fell overboard. Sailors on deck scrambled clear just in time, and one crew member received minor injuries in the chaos. The Super Hornet sank to the seafloor, and recovery efforts have not been detailed. A Navy statement confirmed the carrier and its air wing remain fully operational, but an investigation is underway into the exact sequence of events. This is a costly loss for the U.S. Navy. The F divided by a -18E Super Hornet, a cornerstone of the carrier's strike fighter fleet, carries a price tag of roughly $60 million. Navy officials underscore that such evasive maneuvers, while rare, are sometimes necessary to protect the ship and crew from attack. Despite the Truman's massive size and advanced defenses, the crew was forced into split-second actions to avoid the Houthi launch threat, illustrating how even a supercarrier can be vulnerable to unconventional tactics. The fact that a sudden turn could throw a fighter jet overboard is a stark reminder of the unpredictable hazards of operating in a combat zone. This is not the first aviation mishap the USS Harry S. Truman has experienced in recent months. In a separate incident late last year, another F/A-18 from the Truman's air wing was lost during a friendly fire accident. In that case, a U.S. Navy guided missile cruiser escorting the carrier, the USS Gettysburg, mistook the jet for a hostile target and shot it down by mistake. Fortunately, the two pilots ejected safely and were rescued. That accidental shoot-down in December highlighted the high tension and confusion that can arise in active war zones. And just this February, the Truman made headlines again after a collision with a commercial vessel near Egypt, though thankfully that incident caused no injuries or loss of aircraft. These episodes underscore the Truman's challenging deployment. From accidents to evasive maneuvers, the carrier's mission in the Middle East has been anything but routine. The threat that prompted the Truman's abrupt turn comes from Yemen's Houthi rebel movement, which has extended its fight beyond Yemen's borders into the Red Sea. The Iran-aligned Houthis have been launching numerous missile and one-way drone attacks against ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, aiming to disrupt maritime traffic and pressure the U.S. and its allies. Houthi leaders claim these attacks are yielding results, boasting in public statements about taking on American forces. In this latest case, their salvo of ballistic missiles and explosive drones forced one of the world's most powerful warships into defensive action, a moral victory of sorts for the militants. Houthi media outlets even touted the carrier incident as proof that American forces can be vulnerable. U.S. officials have not confirmed any direct hit on the carrier. In fact, they say none of the Houthi missiles or drones struck the Truman itself, thanks to timely countermeasures and maneuvering. Notably, Houthi fighters have also managed to shoot down several American unmanned aircraft in the region. In the past 6 weeks alone, at least 7 MQ-9 Reaper drones operated by the U.S. military have been downed over Yemen. Each Reaper drone used for surveillance and airstrikes costs roughly $30 million apiece. The Houthis have trumpeted these shootdowns, circulating videos and statements celebrating what they call victories against U.S. spy planes. American defense officials, while confirming the loss of the drones, have not publicly attributed each incident to Houthi fire. Investigations are ongoing. However, the pattern strongly suggests increasingly effective Houthi air defenses or tactics. For the U.S., these losses are piling up. The newly lost Super Hornet and the string of destroyed Reapers represent well over $300 million in military hardware gone in a matter of weeks. This points to a dramatic cost imbalance in the conflict. The Houthis can expend relatively cheap missiles or drones to cause outsized damage to expensive U.S. assets. In response to the Houthi attacks on shipping, the United States has dramatically ramped up its air campaign in Yemen since mid-March. American warplanes, including those flying from the Truman, have been pounding Houthi targets daily in an effort to cripple the rebels' ability to strike at ships. The Pentagon's Central Command reports that over 800 Houthi targets have been struck in the past 6 weeks. These strikes have destroyed weapon stockpiles, air defense systems, command centers, and other strategic sites, according to U.S. officials. The U.S. military estimates that hundreds of Houthi fighters, including several leaders, have been killed in the bombing campaign. From America's perspective, this intense campaign is necessary to protect international shipping lanes from Houthi aggression and to degrade the rebels' military capabilities. However, the humanitarian and political fallout of this campaign is growing. Houthi authorities and aid groups claim that some U.S. airstrikes have caused serious civilian casualties, fueling anger on the ground. In one alarming incident last week, a Houthi-run news outlet alleged that a U.S. airstrike hit a detention facility holding African migrants, killing at least 68 civilians. Iran, the Houthis' main backer, condemned that strike as a war crime, and the story has sparked outrage among Yemenis. The U.S. has neither confirmed nor denied that particular strike, and independent verification is difficult amid the conflict. Meanwhile, concern is growing back in Washington as well. Several U.S. senators have publicly questioned the campaign's conduct, warning that too little is being done to prevent civilian harm. They argue that killing innocents not only is morally unacceptable but could also undermine the mission by turning local opinion against the U.S. This debate reflects a broader public perception challenge. Even as the U.S. claims success in targeting the Houthis, images of wrecked civilian sites and reports of lost American aircraft are shaping a more skeptical view of the intervention. This series of events highlights an uncomfortable reality for the Pentagon. The Houthis, a non-state insurgent group, are employing low-cost, asymmetric tactics that are imposing disproportionate costs on a superpower. It's a classic David versus Goliath scenario. Relatively inexpensive missiles and drones launched by the rebels can force the U.S. military to expend millions of dollars in defenses, and can even lead to accidental losses like a state-of-the-art jet falling into the sea. Such an economic imbalance is not sustainable in the long run and is likely to factor into U.S. strategic planning. Military analysts say Washington may need to adjust its strategy in Yemen, whether through improved defensive measures, new tactics to counter drones and missiles, or a reconsideration of how to achieve its goals without incurring such steep costs. The Navy's investigation into the Truman incident, for example, may recommend changes in carrier procedures during high-threat alerts to prevent another expensive loss. There is also the question of public and political will. High-profile losses of U.S. equipment, especially when combined with reports of civilian casualties, can erode domestic support for military operations abroad. If the American public perceives that the U.S. is getting pulled into a costly quagmire in the Red Sea, pressure could mount on leaders to justify or change the mission. Already, calls for restraint are emerging in Congress, as evidenced by lawmakers' letters urging more caution to avoid civilian deaths. The Pentagon insists the campaign is necessary to stop Houthi attacks on global commerce, and President Donald Trump, who has vowed to continue military action until the Houthi threat to shipping is eliminated, remains publicly determined to stay the course. Yet, the contrast between the two sides' expenditures and outcomes is stark. The Houthis, despite limited resources, are exacting a heavy price on one of the world's most advanced militaries. The loss of a Super Hornet jet during an evasive maneuver underscores the perilous cat-and-mouse game unfolding in the Red Sea. What began as a campaign to protect shipping has now seen the U.S. military facing unexpected hazards and costly setbacks. The USS Harry S. Truman incident, combined with a string of drone shootdowns, highlights how quick and agile rebel tactics can capitalize on any opening, even inadvertently, to inflict damage. As the U.S. Navy works to retrieve what it can from the Red Sea floor and prevent future mishaps, both American commanders and Houthi leaders will be weighing their next moves. The situation is prompting serious reflection within the Pentagon about balancing aggressive action with force protection and humanitarian considerations. Going forward, the world will be watching how the U.S. adjusts its strategy in Yemen's conflict, and whether the high-tech superpower can blunt the threat of low-tech insurgent attacks without further escalating costs or casualties. For now, the waters of the Red Sea remain a flashpoint, with the USS Truman and its crew standing guard, determined to ensure vital shipping lanes stay open even as they adapt to an enemy that has proven resourceful and resilient. The recent close call at sea may serve as a wake-up call for a new approach in a conflict where every move, and every miss, carries heavy consequences.